Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a code red. What is a Mr. Matty code red? It means I'm posting 2 videos in the same day. When my work was done for the day, there was only one news headline that could put my butt back in the work seat to get to it. And that is Fallout New Vegas 2. Fallout Remasters. Just popping up in the headlines today out of complete nowhere. So I posted an Elden Ring tips video earlier today. A lot of you have been watching it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry for pounding away your sub boxes, but I know a lot of you want me to talk about the thing that I would not shut my mouth about for years. And finally, it looks like at minimum, there's a chance that someone at Xbox or Bethesda or Obsidian woke up and said, finally, they realized the obvious thing. We could make a lot of money, couldn't we? And they got a bunch of Fallout fans like Matty who are going to eat this shit up. Perfect. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, we are Fallout freaks. I have been asking for this, especially since 76. I have been all over Bethesda, like, please do something with the license. Either give us remasters until we get a new Fallout game, get Bethesda on Fallout 5, which isn't likely because we have Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield. It was like, okay, go to Obsidian then. And it looks like that very well may be happening. Now with that, level heads will prevail here, okay? Obsidian is a very busy company, so we're going to read the headlines, the quotes, what's going around on the internet, and then we'll discuss. So let's start off with this transcription by Video Games Chronicle with the headline, Fallout New Vegas 2 is reportedly in very early talks at Microsoft. Oh my god! Oh! That just feels so good to read. Oh, okay. Let's keep going. I had to get that out of my system. Speaking on his premium Giant Bomb show, Grub Snacks, paywalled, transcribed by VGC, VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb claimed that the original developer Obsidian could create a sequel to the classic RPG, now that it's under the same roof as license holder Bethesda. Quote, this is very early, but people have begun to have talks and say these words in sentences, and these words are Obsidian and New Vegas 2, end quote, Grubb said. Quote, we're talking years and years away. There's at least an interest and conversations happening about making something like that actually a reality, end quote. Grubb added, quote, a lot of people at Microsoft think this could work, and there's a lot of interest to make it happen, end quote. So there's a lot to really think about here if you've been tracking this situation for a while. First of all, we have to respect Obsidian, right? They are going out on their own with more money than they've ever had in their studio. They're making Avowed, which is a competitor, it looks like, to Skyrim. They're making Grounded, which is a very successful service game that's exclusive to Xbox. We have Josh Sawyer's RPG, which did leak out and is looking to be something kind of like Disco Elysium, which sounds great. We've talked about that here on the channel. There was Outer Worlds DLC like Murder on Eridanos late last year, which was excellent, by the way. So they're a very busy studio. And then one of the most recent leaks that ended up being confirmed at last year's E3 showcase is also on the docket. We're talking about the Outer Worlds 2. Obsidian Entertainment is loaded up with things to do. And a lot of those options are tantalizing. But I always and forever said that something like the Outer Worlds, I'm a diehard Outer Worlds fan, okay? So you're talking to the right guy. If they were going to give me a sequel and it was going to be out soon, I'd be all over it. But if they had a choice between the Outer Worlds and going back to Fallout again, as a business decision, they'd be silly to not do Fallout. There is so much money in that would bring their studios to new heights that it would be silly to not make that decision. But not only that, there are so many of the original Fallout minds at Obsidian, and the fact that this deal could get done, we're talking about potentially, since Obsidian last worked on it, it could be when this project actually maybe is greenlit, a 16 to 18 year wait before they actually get started in totality. So I feel like there has to be a hunger there internally, because it's been shown externally, not only in a plethora of interviews that they've said over time, but then you look at what's going on when Bethesda was acquired by Xbox and people are going, does this mean that New Vegas 2 could happen? And they're kind of like, I don't know, playing coy about it, like maybe, maybe not. So I feel like when you're doing something like that, I get it, it's the social team having a little bit of fun with things, but there, I could definitely imagine, is a studio-wide sentiment shared that they would like to go work on Fallout again if given the opportunity. Of course, a lot of pieces on the chessboard need to be shuffled around if this is to actually occur. But to know that talks are happening is very wise on Microsoft's behalf. I mean, there's a reason why Phil Spencer made his profile picture the Vault Boy after they acquired Bethesda, because it was like, Fallout's the big dog. That's the money maker there. They'd be dumb to let it be dormant and just have Fallout 76 run it into the ground further. So with that, we get into our second bit of news because, of course, New Vegas 2, if it were to ever happen, is going to be a long ways away. So there was also the report through Grubsnacks again, which is about remasters at Microsoft. Grubb said, quote, "They are planning to remaster all major franchises under Microsoft. I think Gears will probably happen. Fallout will get a Legendary Edition eventually. Don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, but it's on the plate," end quote. I don't know why this is just on the plate that will eventually happen and not something that's like immediate, like get to it within the next year. Okay, so for those who've been tracking closely, the Gears Collection remaster leaked a couple of weeks ago. We covered it here on the channel, and a lot of accurate sources on the Xbox side of things corroborated said leak. So this would make sense that it would then chain out into Fallout, which, my God, if any game actually needed to get remastered, I would pick this franchise over any of them out there, because so many people have wanted the package of Fallout 3 and New Vegas with some little bells and whistles attached to then present to the audience. Now, when he uses the terminology Legendary Edition, it got my mind thinking about Mass Effect Legendary Edition, because that's a very specific terminology by Grubb, who was in on the leaks for that consistently. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, for those who don't know, effectively in many ways on a gameplay level remade Mass Effect 1, and then they fine-tuned little aspects of Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, like how much sniper ammo will drop, and mostly upgrading it on a visual front. So I could see a future where, again, this was the hopes and dreams of people, like Fallout 3 New Vegas getting tweaked shooting mechanics to align more with Fallout 4. That's something that I imagine as creatives you would expect of a company, but many of us, myself included, were willing to say, hey, just give me the game again, running better, looking better on next-gen technology, and I'm good with that. I love Fallout, man. I say that with no shame in my heart. I love this franchise so much, and I think it's a damn crime what happened to it with 76. And when you look at the roadmap for that, I mean, you want to talk about a series on life support. That's what it looks like. So when you got the TV show on the way, then remasters and another game from Bethesda maybe with Fallout 5 after Elder Scrolls, and then an Obsidian one, this is a much more logical, I would also say idealistic, because some things will fall through, type of roadmap for this series. The sad part about all of it is on both ends. Fallout New Vegas, absolutely, because we got to wait for. We're talking about a company in Obsidian that is making some really exciting projects, and they shouldn't be canceled for Fallout as much as I want it. That's, you know, the creative vision needs to be seen out, because they can maybe make something like Avowed, which is loved as much as Fallout, loved as much as Skyrim. So that stuff is important for them to do and experience, and then bring that experience over to something like the Fallout franchise where ideas can be shared. That is exciting. So I don't want any of these projects to stop, but the same thing can be said with the Fallout Legendary Edition remaster stuff, which is, again, patience is going to be required on both ends of these. There's no shortcuts to these. That's why I was very excited, because I've just been itching to see talks are happening. Things are happening. Oh my God. Yay. Finally. Like, there is an acknowledgement that you have something that is really good, also on a business front, very lucrative, and you're going to make use of it. You know, because Bethesda Game Studios is one thing. They clearly were burnt out on going through the Fallout and Elder Scrolls repeat cycle. Them going to Starfield makes so much sense, getting some real time away from things, rebuilding the technology for next generation, and then doing Elder Scrolls 6 after, you know, a decade away from Skyrim. But with Bethesda Game Studios' hands tied for so long, someone needs to take the reins of this series. It's just not right that any of these franchises that are so big, whether it be Elder Scrolls or Fallout, remain dormant for so long. Of course, I will admit I'm extremely passionate about Fallout specifically, as many of you know. But this seems to be Microsoft pushing it, and what I'm surprised to see in all these reports is no mentioning of Bethesda. So that's why I'm not going to get too carried away here and get like really, really hyped, because we're talking about, well, Microsoft owns all of this, a multitude of entities involved in this. I mean, because I could speculate on the idea of, well, if we're going to do a Legendary Edition, do you have In Exile handle like a remake, remaster of Fallout 1 and 2 in a package, and then have one of your support studios you acquired from Activision Blizzard King in that deal work on the remasters for Fallout 3 and 4? Do you have one of the support studios like in Bethesda Game Studios, Montreal? Do you have one of them work on the Fallout remaster because they worked on Skyrim Special Edition? Like, there's so many ways that this can all go, and so a lot of hands are going to be on deck, and that's where things can get a little bit tough because the creative pipeline gets slowed down. I'm not expecting anything for a while, but if they were going to Outer Worlds 2 anything to let people know it's happening, it's coming, one of these Fallout announcements would send me through my goddamn ceiling in excitement. I can't even begin to explain. The other question that a lot of people were sending my way, because my Twitter feed was blowing up when this news broke, because people knew I was just not shutting my mouth for ages. They're like, here, be quiet, was exclusivity. And that's a really good question. It's a really good question, because Xbox has been sort of with all of that. Like, is it going to be an exclusive game or not? Where we saw them very much stern on the idea like Starfield exclusive, Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive, but then you see them giving Call of Duty to everyone. They're saying other popular Activision Blizzard titles will also be given out to everybody. So I don't know if this was to make sure that antitrust didn't really creep in, or if this is going to be a case-by-case basis. Like, will Fallout, a huge franchise, benefit more from being on a multitude of platforms? If I am Xbox and I'm locking down Elder Scrolls 6, then I would be shocked if they didn't lock down a New Vegas 2. Meanwhile, the remasters, you can probably expect those. I don't know, of course, because this news is breaking to me at the same time. I would imagine you could expect these to be on other platforms, and they would say, well, if you want more, New Vegas 2 is over here on this side of the aisle. So there's so much here to be excited about, but I'm going to try to control myself here. I'm going to try not to get too crazy with this, but I just had to make this impromptu video to react to it, to talk about it with all of you, because, you know, like, I adore this franchise so much. It's given me my career, effectively, but also before that, I was a diehard fan. And, you know, to see what happened after Fallout 76 and the status of the franchise now, where the next thing we have is the TV show, it's in a weird spot. And it deserves to be much more active and honestly treated better. And if I'm quite frank with you all, I feel like Obsidian or inXile might treat it a little bit better than Bethesda has in recent memory with Fallout 76. And I don't want to judge the TV show too harshly too soon, but it's definitely not the first priority that would be on my list when I'm doing something with the Fallout brand. Because especially if we're talking marketability, like, it didn't Fallout Shelter do that in the first place with the ability to just say, like, hey, casuals, check out this cool franchise with this cartoon with blonde hair, right? Oh, this is fun, right? Here's the big game, Fallout 4. I don't know. I could go on, clearly. I could go on for hours, but I wanted to get on top of this right now with all of you and just chat about Fallout New Vegas 2, a Fallout Legendary Edition, what that can mean. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. This is really exciting stuff. So fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who support the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.